right, and we are live. Welcome everybody for this new live stream. And today we're gonna talk of the Solidity survey of 2023 that was just released. And so there are some interesting data. So let's check this out. If you're new here, I'm Julian, and on Eat the Blogs, I help you to become a professional blockchain developer. And if you are new here, check out my free training on how to become a blockchain developer. I will tell you exactly the skills that you need to master and how to get your first blockchain job as a complete newbie in the space. So I put the link in the chat, eattheblogs.com/roadmap. Check it out. It's very useful. All right, so let's check out this survey. So here we are. Survey is here. Hi everybody in the chat. I see there is THX here. Hey man, good to see you. First of all, where do Solidity developer live? So without surprise, USA comes first. So on the West Coast, we have a lot of tech companies because that's also where we have the Silicon Valley. But in other countries, we also have a lot of Solidity devs. So India, for example, a rapidly growing country. So all the countries where the living cost is lower, typically, and where a lot of people are unbanked. Crypto is really popular there without surprise. Nigeria also, number 3. And in Europe, surprisingly, Europe is pretty high in the ranking. Germany and France, relatively to the size of the country, we have a lot of French people in Solidity. And then we have China. It's a bit weird that China is so low because it's just so much bigger than Germany, France, and even Nigeria. So I would expect China to be number 1 or number 2, but probably related to the language. But yeah, a bit surprising. And then some other European country. United Kingdom, surprisingly, is half of France. So maybe because those numbers are low, so maybe we cannot interpret them too much. I don't know, but I would expect more people from the UK since they're same size as France and they speak English. All right, but the point is that really we have Solidity developer all over the place. It's not just in the US. So what's your native language? So majority of native language which is English, but not only. And yeah, which language do you speak predominantly at work? English. So even for a lot of people who are not native English speaker, they still need to speak English at work in international teams. Would you prefer read the Solidity documentation in your native language or English? Most people say English. Yeah, I agree there. It's super annoying to when you learn the technical words in English and then you have to translate back in your language. For example, when I read some documentation in French, actually I find it more difficult than in English. So if you're weak on English, really you gotta get on top of it, because otherwise that's really going to slow you down a lot. A couple of languages here. All right, so here now we're gonna talk of the question related to the professional situations. Are you currently employed? Yes. So there is a majority of Solidity developer who are working. So for everybody who's saying that there is no demand for Solidity dev, well, you can see that that's not the case. And otherwise, we have a lot of students, and some 20% not employed at the moment. What industry do you work in? Crypto, so of course, but not only. Technology, so technology mostly some Web2 tech company that are adding a Web3 feature to their product. And then we have some other industry, for example, financial services, 4.5%, media gaming, and so in the future, I expect that this traditional industry to represent a bigger portion of all the Solidity dev, because basically everything that we call crypto right now, some of this will actually move to the other segment. And in the future, if a company has some Web3 component, we will not necessarily say that this is a crypto company, but we will just say, yeah, that is a company that just has some crypto component. Exactly like for web company, like before when the web was new, people were saying, oh, like we were a web company, but now the web is everywhere. So just having some web product doesn't make you special. So the same thing will happen with crypto. It will become as common as being on the internet. And so next questions, how many years have you coded professionally as part of your work? So here is a majority of people who are Solidity developer who have between 3 to 5 years of experience. And I'm a little bit surprised. I was expecting a much more beginner. Usually we have a curve that is more like a downward slope, like a lot of beginner, and then as you progress through the cohort, you have less and less people. So that's a bit strange, but we still have some beginners. So some people I've never coded as part of my job. Let me see how many percent. 6.1% have never coded as part of their job. 9% have only coded professionally for less than a year. So even if you're a total beginner, you can still be a Solidity developer. And then so we have a peak at 3-5 years, and then what happened is that a lot of people became manager or just go on and do other things. Developer profile. So which of the developer profile best describe you? So most Solidity developer identify as smart contract developer. Yes, makes sense. A small portion tooling developer, so that's pretty advanced. And then we have the auditor. So how many percent is that? 4.4% of people are auditors. And so, that was strange in 2022 and 2023. It just felt like, 2023 exactly. It felt like there was always almost more auditors than Solidity developers, especially on crypto Twitter. But here you can see that this is actually a small portion. And I expect that with the bull market, the ratio will even continue to grow in the favor of smart contract dev. So more this part will grow here, smart contract developer. When do you use Solidity? So for personal uses, so 25% of people just for fun or for learning, then the same proportion just at work, and half are using it in both contexts. So which is good because it shows that Solidity dev really enjoy Solidity and just are not just mercenary, but actually enjoy what they do and do personal project with it. How frequently do you contribute to open source project written in Solidity? Daily, weekly, monthly, never. All right, so we have more than half of people who do contribute to open source, 40% never. And this is specifically open source in Solidity. So, contributing to open source, this is awesome, but this is not something for beginner. Okay, this is more like for intermediate to advanced. So wouldn't really recommend it to everybody. Programming language preferences. Which programming language do you use the most? Solidity. That makes sense. And second, TypeScript and JavaScript. So we have roughly like 30%. So basically 30% of Solidity dev actually at least 30% are full stack, meaning that they do the smart contract, but also the rest of the application. But interesting to note, still the majority of Solidity developer are just Solidity developer. They don't do something else. And I think that this proportion increase. So we observe a big hike of participants who use Solidity the most, going from 30% to 43% this year. So what does this mean in terms of market dynamics? It means that the market tends to specialize, and we have more and more demand for specialists. So that really makes sense. And this is why for our bootcamp, we only teach Solidity, because it's always more valuable to be super good at Solidity than just to be a sort of jack of all trade who know a little bit of everything. All right, so next. What's your favorite programming language? Solidity. Alright, so not every user of Solidity has Solidity as their favorite language. Python. So here Python was actually just 9% in the chart above, but here is at number 2. So yeah, developer love Python. Yeah, like some people mention Java as their favorite language. Like, come on, guys, how is it possible? Or C#. Come on. Don't get it. Preferred operating system. So it's equally split here. Windows, Linux, Mac OS. So doesn't matter which platform you use, you can always be a Solidity dev, but still a majority on Mac OS, which is more expensive, but that's okay because as Solidity dev, we are rich, so we can afford it. Solidity expertise. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your Solidity expertise? In here, so it's a bit strange because we have a majority of people. The biggest category here is number 8, so quite good. I would have expected people to be a little bit more humble. So the reality, most people tend to overestimate their skills. So I think the reality is that this chart is the real number are probably more to the left. And here, interesting to note, between the beginner, between 1 and 2, we see a decrease. And actually, this makes sense. This is this chart here. So when you start to learn something, you think that you progress quickly. And you reach the top of Mount Stupid where you don't realize your actual level. And then when you understand the complexity of the task at hand, then you realize you're actually much weaker than you think. It's called the Trough of Sorrow. And finally, the climb to mastery when you're really progressing. So yeah, this is what we see here. But don't be impressed by this. The real level is more to the left. All right. Oh, and here I noted one thing. Here the highest number of respondents are users who have 2-3 years of experience in Solidity. Yeah, so this graph here, so majority of users, the biggest category have been using Solidity for 2-3 years, but still a decent number of beginner here. But that's also this chart is a little bit strange because usually that's the contrary. Usually you have more people who basically it goes decreasing. So the most people are the most recent ones, so less than 3 months, and a little bit less people 3-6 months, etc. So I believe this is probably some statistical bias introduced by the survey, because the people who are the most likely to answer this survey are more senior Solidity dev, but the reality is that the majority of Solidity dev are beginner, not senior. That's for sure. How long did it take to become productive with Solidity? Less than a month. Okay, so these guys here, they finally on the Mount Stupid. Okay, no question about this. Less than half a year. That yeah seems about right. Less than 1 year. Yeah, probably for most people it will be somewhere between 6 months to 1 year. And after, well, depends how what do you call productive, etc. But more than 1 year, it seems like a lot. Uh, and there are some people who never make it. I don't feel productive. Sorry about that. Sorry, buddy. How often do you use Solidity? Daily. Almost half of people use Solidity daily. Good. So that means we have a very engaged community. And 33% here weekly. So yeah, you have more than 2/3 of Solidity dev that use it at least weekly. So very, very engaged community. Then where do you get the Solidity binaries from? Okay, so it's a bit technical, but basically how people compile a smart contract. So usually using a framework and an IDE, but there are some people who like to do it manually. So they do it with npm, with GitHub release directly. Wow. Or they build it from source. Real warrior. But yeah, most people, you just use a framework. Which editor do you use for writing Solidity? This is it. The most important question of this survey, okay? Wars have been fought for this, guys. So, most people use VS Code, unsurprisingly. But after, we have Vim at almost 5%. So, if you're a real programmer, you use Vim, okay? Otherwise, I don't respect you. This is as simple as this. I'm sorry. No, but seriously, Vim is great. I love it because basically you don't have to use your mouse at all. So it's good to protect against RSI. Do I say it right? Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing that hurts your wrist if you use it too much. So that's the main reason I use it. But yes, VS Code has all the plugins and is more like fancy and shiny, etc. So it's not surprising. All right, which Solidity related plugin do you use? So here's thing is they mean for VS Code. So just like last year, the Solidity extension by Juan Blanco and Hot VS Code by Nomic Foundation. So the must-use extension. Do you use an Ethereum-specific development environment? So here, so basically they are talking of frameworks and tool. So first we have Hot, which used to be used to have much more traction, but it has decreased a lot. So I think they mention it here. 33% Hot remain the most popular Ethereum development environment, but significant lower than in 2022 when roughly 75% of respondents were using Hot. Okay, so huge decrease. It used to dominate a lot, but not anymore. And Foundry, a close number 2. Foundry ranks second with 32%, but not much change compared to 2022. And then we have a Truffle. So Truffle is nice. It's a legacy framework. It was discontinued, but it was the first framework for Solidity, but it's been discontinued. And then we have some other framework that are not very known, like Brownie for Python people, Nbach also. All right, so which Solidity version do you currently use? So most people use the latest one, and some people, I don't know why, they use old version. So usually it's because these people, they interface with older smart contracts. So, but otherwise, you have no reason to use an old version. Just use the latest version. Solidity usage, okay, so that is not a little bit too technical, so let's skip this. SMT checker, so this is for people who write compilers. We don't need this. Okay, let's skip this. Flatten your contract. We don't care. Okay, here we care. Other EVM network. Do you use Solidity outside of Ethereum mainnet and testnet? So for 1/3 of people, no, they are just on the Ethereum network, but the majority of people, yes. And that's because Ethereum, the EVM technology is used on many other blockchains. And that's also the power of Solidity. Really, you can really leverage your investment across a wide range of technologies, and that's very good in terms of career potential. On which other network do you deploy your Solidity smart contract? So we will see a lot of Ethereum L2 here. So Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism. So those are the biggest L2. Binance Chain. We don't see Base because Base just took off very recently, and this is a 2023 survey. But probably that for the next survey, we'll see that Base probably in the biggest category here. What other smart contract languages do you use? So for 1/3 of people, none of them. So Solidity is really, really dominant. There are some other languages, but they are really, really far behind. So I was really surprised by this. 24% of Solidity dev use YL. I thought it would be just a few percent. So YL is basically a low level language. How do you say? A sort of low level dialect of Solidity that allow you to target the EVM directly. But that's very powerful, but that's also very dangerous. And I'm surprised. Like almost 1/4 of people use Yield. And Viper, so that's a Python-like a smart contract language. I thought it was dying, but apparently not. And then we have some very niche language. So Huff, this is a language mostly to learn, and then some other smaller language here. All right, so. Next. Recurring issues. Do you encounter the same issue multiple times? Yes, and which one it is? Stack too deep. Okay, so if you learn Solidity very quickly, you will become crazy with this error. Bytecode size limit. Yeah, so smart contract cannot be too big. So super annoying limitation. Debugging issue, that's a big thing. So getting started is nothing interesting here. Nothing. Okay, let's here scroll down. Which Solidity feature do you like the most? So we have mappings. Mapping basically key value stores exactly like in JavaScript, super easy to use. So that makes sense. Contracts as objects. Yeah, semantically, it's quite easy to understand what is a contract. It's, you have data and function encapsulated, and this is separated from other contracts. So I think this is a logic that people can understand easily. Modifier, very useful for access control. 10-12% of people who like the most inline assembly. So that's basically YOL. Okay. Surprising. This is a very, very obscure part of the language, but why not? All right. So what's the biggest pain point with Solidity? Stack too deep. Yeah, people go crazy about this. Gas usage. Gas usage, what mapping, memory, optimization. Okay, so people not happy with the gas optimization of Solidity here. But yeah, stack too deep, the biggest pain point. All right. Then do you use external library? 40, almost half of people no. So they just write pure custom Solidity code. Very surprising because we almost always need a token, and for a token we'll use OpenZippling. Right. Let's keep going down. What's the most anticipated feature you like to see in Solidity in the near future? So first generics. Okay, so generics, that's some advanced stuff that you see in some complex language like C++. I don't know why people want this, because it's just gonna make Solidity more complex. Require with custom error type. So basically a better way to do access control with your custom error. Yeah, I can see how that could be useful. Transient storage. So transient storage is a new feature of the EVM that allow you to have some a temporary key value store. A little bit like this is temporary. It only lasts during the transaction. A little bit like a storage in a web browser. So yeah, an up and coming feature. All right. And I think that's pretty much it. Let me see. Yeah, interaction with other Solidity developer. Do you interact with other Solidity developer? So half of people, yes, and otherwise for the other half, rarely or no. So we have half of Solidity developer who are autistic. Yeah, that makes sense. No, but when we are in the flow, we don't want to talk with other people. So it's not special to us. All devs are like this. All right, so I guess that's pretty much it. So yeah, was pretty interesting. Let me see what people are saying in the chat. Kwezi, let's get some likes, folks. Thank you. Peter, when do you see blockchain being more mainstream and adopted by big existing companies? I've been following blockchain for 4 years and I still feel like it's a bit risky to find something safe. Yeah, I think it's gonna come. So there are many industries that will adopt. There are many industries where it could go mainstream, but I think gaming. So finance. Clearly, we will see more and more assets tokenized. We have some big investment fund like BlackRock, which are talking about it. So I can see Wall Street coming in DeFi. Then we have gaming. Yeah, gaming absolutely coming in DeFi. And we have overseas payments. So a couple of things. And yeah, from the top of my head, those are the biggest one. But yeah, those are going to be huge. Justice. Hey, Julian. Peter, my focus is security, like pen testing. So I'd be interested in pen testing in blockchain. Yeah, so we don't, in blockchain, there is no pen testing, sorry, but we have smart contract security and smart contract audit. So you have a whole community of smart contract dev who are specializing in finding some bugs. And right now this is really booming. But if you want to do this, really the core skill that you need to acquire is Solidity, so that you can understand what's going on. There are a lot of people who are attracted by smart contract security, but they jump straight at the audit aspect without learning Solidity, and after they struggle a bit. All right, guys. So if there's no more question in the chat, we are going to stop here. So Blazeline, surprise, no question related to AI usage for smart contract security, for example. Yeah, so we'll probably see some AI tool for smart contract security, but there will just be some tools to help smart contract auditors, but it's very unlikely that it will be the AI tool that does the whole smart contract audit by itself, because AI is good when it does something a bit creative, when we don't need a specific and exact result. But in the case of security, we do need something specific. So would you trust AI to secure your smart contract? And there are millions of dollars at stake. Most people wouldn't. So I don't think this is necessarily the place where it's going to have the biggest impact. All right, guys. So I guess we're going to stop here today, though. Thanks for coming. And I will see you next week. Bye.